I remember when I was first using UEFN, I really needed to create an elevator system using switches, and I couldn't find a tutorial anywhere. I also really wanted to attach an audio device to add some music, the kind of thing that you would hear in a crappy shopping mall or an office building when you get into the lift. Eventually, I learned how to do it by wiring devices together. But recently I thought, wouldn't it be great to have a drag and drop verse device that we could simply wire all of the other devices into and that would act as a elevator controller? And that's what I've made here. You can download the verse code in the link in the description below, and let's get started. Okay, first things first, let's create a folder and we will call it Elevator. And then in the Fortnite folder over here, search for Elevator again. Here you have plenty of assets that you can use, but I think today the volcano, whoa, that's big. The volcano is good. Let's make that smaller because we want to keep it open so that you can see all of the other devices that we need to add clearly. So the next thing we need is a creative prop. Now this can be anything. I think I'm going to go for a barrel. Pop that in there. This isn't going to be seen in the map. Make sure it's hidden in game. And then we can also make sure there is no collision. So this is just a marker, a reference for the verse device to know where the elevator should start and where the elevator should stop. Next, grab a switch. You can use any of the switches here, but don't use a button because the verse device isn't coded to use a button. I would recommend using the switch at the end of the list here. So if you add that to the map, the benefit of this one is that if you go to the details and look at the device model, and you can choose different switches to use rather than being stuck with the same default button all of the time. So I quite like the circuit breaker, but I think for today we're going to use the red button. I really like the red button because it illuminates when it's active, which is eye-catching for the player, and it looks great. It's kind of clean, this button. It's pretty cool. Next thing we need is an audio player for our ElevatorMusic or the sound effects if you wanted more kind of realism. Let's drag the audio player in. And finally, and we're not going to use this yet, but we should put it on the map anyway so you're clear about all of the devices that you're actually going to need. We need a trigger, but ignore the trigger for the time being. That's something we'll talk about at the end of the tutorial. So now is a great time to organize everything. Let's drag everything that we've added to the map into the elevator folder and then name all of the assets. We can start with the barrel or whatever device you're using as your floor marker, and let's call it FloorA _ marker. And then move it roughly into the center of your ElevatorCab. Now we need to duplicate this. Again, Alt and then left click and drag. Now in order to get the right position, I created a catwalk earlier. You don't need to do this. It's just a way to test the switch mechanism on the upper floor. Now name that FloorB marker. And now it's time to move on to the switches. And before we move on, I'm going to hide the catwalk. Name the first switch CallSwitchFloorA. And because this is the call button, you want to place this somewhere outside the elevator. Then duplicate the switch and take it up to the floor where your elevator will stop. Next, move the audio player into the ElevatorCab. This will move with the ElevatorCab, and the verse director will start it when the cab moves and stop it when the cab arrives. Make sure you name the audio player something specific to do with the elevator. And while we are here, we can set up the audio itself. If you've never set up an audio queue, it's very easy. Just go to Audio, Sound Queue, give it a name. Open the queue, and then drag and drop your audio file into the queue, connect it, highlight it, and then you can click looping if you need it to loop. Now drag your audio queue into your audio device. And next, duplicate the switch for the final time. This is going to be our cab switch. This is the button that the player presses when they get into the cab to activate it. Rename it CabSwitch. So this is important. We need the cab switch and the audio player to move with the elevator. So we have to attach them to the main elevator prop. To do this, highlight them both And in the outliner, just drag them down to the prop you want to attach them to. And now you can see the elevator is the parent of the two devices. Rename the elevator prop to ElevatorCab. And now you see everything moves together. That's what we want. Okay, time to add verse. Click on the link in the description below, download the code, open it up, and at the top of the code you'll see the name of the verse device. It's called the Elevator_Director. Copy that. And back in UEFN, if you can't see the Verse Explorer, go to Verse Explorer, go to Content, right-click, create new verse file, and then paste the name Elevator_Director and create empty. And here we have it. So now we want to open that, go back to the code that you've downloaded, highlight it all, copy, back into Verse, paste, and don't forget to compile by clicking the build button on the top right hand side. If you have any issues with compiling, put a message in the comments below. In your content folder, you will see the Elevator Director. So just drag and drop that in. And this is where the naming of everything becomes important, because if you have a lot of other assets in your map, this can get a little bit confusing. But because we've named everything, we have ElevatorCab there, Floor A marker, Floor B marker, CallSwitchA. Oh, I forgot to change the name of CallSwitchFloorB. CabSwitch. Now ignore this trigger here for the time being. We're going to be coming back to that. Add the audio device. Use CabSwitch is on by default because this was the original build that I wanted. So leave that as it is. Ignore use CabTrigger for the moment. And here, travel time seconds, you can make this as long or as short as you want. And that's it. Now we test. Now we run into the elevator. Music plays. And then let's go and check the call button for floor A. See if that works. Yep. And then go back up to the top and check for floor B. And then finally we can get back on. And there we go. All working. But what about if you don't want to use all of these switches? Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's another function I put into the verse device which just uses a trigger. So let's test this out and show you what I mean. Grab the trigger, put it inside your elevator, and then scale it up to make sure it covers the whole floor of the elevator. I would then turn off Visible in Game. And just like we did with the audio and the cab switch, drag it and attach it to the elevator cab. We want this to move with the elevator as well. Now click on the Elevator Director and choose Trigger. And this is the important part. You can have both of these systems functioning together. However, if you don't, you can turn off the Use Cab Switch and turn on Use CabTrigger instead. And that's it. Let's test that and I'll show you what I mean. So as you can see from this version, the player doesn't have to press the button to activate the elevator. But this also means that all of the switches are off, so there are no call switches active either. But if you do want everything to work together, just turn both of these boxes on and everything will be live. There will be more free verse code devices coming soon, and thanks for watching. See you soon, people.